PIP flexion. For MCP flexion, the muscles are the lumbricals, the palmar, and the dorsal interossei, and the digiti minimi brevis. The muscles for the PIP flexion is the flexor digitorum superficialis, and then for the DIP flexion, it's the flexor digitorum profundus. So we'll start with the MCP flexion. So all three for all three tests, you're always going to have them fully supinated with their forearm on the table. And you want to have their fingers straight when you start. And for MCP flexion, you stabilize on the back of the hand. And then so if you do MCP flexion, you want to keep your fingers straight and just flex this joint. Okay? So then we go into MCP flexion. And then you apply resistance on the proximal phalanx. Okay. And then now we'll do the PIP flexion. So this one you can set your hand down. And this one you stabilize on the proximal phalanx. And then you're going to apply your resistance on the middle phalanx. So this one you're just going to be flexing this joint here. Okay, go ahead. Okay. And then for this one you want to try and avoid DIP flexion, because if you have DIP flexion with this, the profundus muscle could be taking over for the superficialis. So go ahead and flex. Okay. And then for the DIP flexion, so you stabilize on the middle phalanx, and you're going to apply your resistance on the distal phalanx. So you're just going to be this motion here. And with this one, you also want to avoid the PIP flexion. Okay, so go ahead. And then you apply resistance on the distal phalanx. Good. And then the PIP and DIP flexion, they don't have any gravity eliminated positions for anything lower than a 3. The scale is just altered. So if they have a 3, it'd be full range of motion with no resistance. A 2 is partial range of motion. 1 is just a contraction, and 0 would be no contraction and no movement. But then MCP flexion does have a gravity eliminating position. So this, you want to have their forearm and their wrist in neutral. And you also want to make sure their fingers are extended. And for all these tests, you always do one at a time. And you stabilize the hand on this side here on the metacarpals of 2 through 5. Here, straight. And for this one, you also want to make sure they're not flexing the wrist. So stabilize. And then go ahead and flex that one there. And when you're palpating, keep it straight. When you're palpating, you're going to palpate the radial side of the metacarpals. So about here. For all of the motions, you want to make sure that they're not flexing their wrists, because that's a lot of times that's a substitution that they do. And then I'll do